Hey guys and welcome back to another What If here. Today we are doing What If Female Naruto was the Reincarnation of Kaguya Part 2. And I'm doing this because I kind of want to break from the main, and I will say main series, What If Kuma's Chakra turns Naruto into a female. Though Part 12 will probably come out Monday, next week Monday, so Friday will be not part 3, well, possibly either part 3 of this What If or part 1 of another newish one, probably new one. So anyway, so let's get right into this. A year would go by and Ruby was obviously fine. It would actually be her birthday, as she would wake up in a field with some flowers, though, with big massive trees in the distance, mountains that made her look like an ant. And within those mountains were caves, as she'd somewhat look around in the massive field and would go somewhat, Mum would shout out, is anyone here? As she'd think, where am I? The last thing she remembered was, in her bed going to sleep. As she'd then hear a voice, come this way. And she'd follow the voice, as it'd keep on saying that for a while. Then it'd somewhat stop, and it'd stop when she'd somewhat get in, or at least eye shot enough to recognise, that's something doesn't look like it should be in her, or her curiosity would trigger, and she'd walk up to it, not really knowing that was the thing producing, making the sound to bring her to the object. As Ruby would walk up to it, would get closer and closer and closer, and realise it was a very massive object, and the object had fur. She'd be confused and go, hello? Just the object would open an eye, would seem to move, come alive, almost as then she'd just be staring in, somewhat up into an eyeball. She'd go, do you know where I am? Since the thing would seem to think for a minute before answering back, in your mindscape. She'd blink and go, mindscape, what's that? So the thing's open both its eyes now, and would think, why is she here? She shouldn't be here for another year. But, I guess this still did weaken a fair bit from a not so great death situation she found herself in a year ago. Less than a year ago. So, I guess that could most likely explain why she's here now. Because you would go, what do you mean by mindscape? The object would blink and go, in your mind, where this is a place within your mind. I'm in my mind, so I'm just talking to my imagination. The thing would then shake its head and go, no, I am very much real, though. It's a long story, as she'd go, well, I don't, well, if I'm in my mind, then I guess, well, I'll hear it, and Kuma would pretty much tell that she was a, well, Ruby was the Jinchuriki, and that her name was Kuma, and she was sealed inside of her, and about the 9 Tails attack. Yeah, well, who's in it, or at least who's in, like, outright, like, kind of everyone else would tell their children that the 9 Tails was defeated by the 4th Hokage, though the 4th gave up his life to kill the fox, which was of course a giant lie, but yeah. Anyway, so should be somewhat surprised on the ask why would he keep something big like this, as Fox would say, well, it's quite somewhat was for your own good. And what I mean by that is that, well, I don't really know. I guess it's kind of odd because, well, the 4th Hokage had somewhat always planned for us to meet. What do you mean planned us? Well, when he sealed me inside of you, he had loosened the seal enough so that within 5 years, so when you turn 5 years old, we would meet, but due to an incident in your past, it somewhat weakened the seal a bit more, which allowed us to meet now instead of a year later. So, I see. And they'd somewhat like continued to talk for a bit more and just get to know one another. As we would then ask, well, how do I exactly leave? And come and go, well, well, explained on why I cut in back then, but yeah, she would then leave a Mindscape and she'd wake up in the real world as come and then say, oh, and I forgot to say one more thing, was Naruto, well, not Naruto, Ruby would say, what's that? She'd think that, as Kuma would say, well, happy birthday, okay, after all it is your birthday, and her eyes would snap open and jaunt out of bed towards her calendar, which, yeah, she'd then see it was her birthday. She'd somewhat forgotten it was. Though somewhat understandable when you're talking to a 1,000-year-old 9-tailed fox. I guess you would forget about what the day actually was. So, yeah. And while she was somewhat just sitting around in her pyjamas, or at least, well, for a bit, though then she'd decide to get dressed, and she'd go, well, I guess today's better than any other day to get started, as we'd go get started on market, start training in Chakra. Oh, you're a bit young for that. Well, yeah, maybe, but the sooner I start, the better my control, and that I don't really know. The books in the library didn't really explain much more than just the better your control. Well, like the earlier you start training, the overall bigger your reserves and the better your control would be. Can go say for sure you don't exactly need your reserves to be any bigger than what they are. You already single-handedly have the biggest chakra reserves out of anyone in not in the entire elemental nations. Has probably maybe like the average Jinchuriki who are older than you would possibly have bigger reserves depending on age and that, but yeah, though I can only though once you get a connection to your reserves, I will be able to, once you get a connection to your chakra, I will be able to gauge your reserves. But yeah, I would possibly say your reserves will probably be, yes, on the big side, but you'd probably store the smallest out of you'd probably still have somewhat small reserves compared to rush-tailed beasts, but yeah, your reserves will still be massive compared to humans. We would just go okay, and should somewhat pop her head out and would out her front door. I should do somewhat some hand signs to call her ANBU, or at least the ANBU she knew that was kind of like on the other building opposite her apartment's front door, and we'd do the hand signs for pretty much that she wanted to talk to her. And it's like we would then appear and look at and said, "Do you wanted to talk, Ruby?" Just go, yes. By any chance, would you be willing to train me in chakra control, or train me in anything at all? Sorry, I wasn't quite there, guys. Heard something very odd. Yeah, anyway, sounded like an ice cream truck, and it was 2:28 in the morning, so, and I mean AM in the morning type deal, so, yeah, I don't know why that would be an ice cream truck, but whatever. Anyway, let's get back on track. So, she'd think and go, I would gonna have to ask someone we would just go, okay then. And 10 minutes later she'd come back, though with another ANBU, the ANBU being that behind, that would generally monitor the back of her apartment to make sure no stupid civilians or ninjas who think they could try and kill the 9,000 Cherokee. Yeah. And then also that to stop the idiots from possibly killing themselves. More so due to the fact, sure, she's a 9,000 Cherokee, but she's also in Uzumaki, and they had the Uzumaki chains, and wouldn't know really how an Uzumaki would say acquire them. Would it be say from the position of just being frightened to the point where someone comes to try and kill you, and then in a last ditch effort the chains just fly out of you and slaughter whoever is trying to hurt you type deal. He wasn't sure, so yeah, they'd either be executed privately or just jailed, depending on what they were planning on doing. So yeah. Anyway, so they tell her that they could train her, though or, well, they could at least train up until she entered the academy in just chakra control. Then once she enters in the academy, they can train her still in chakra control, but also in like a basic fighting stance, like to help her come across her own fighting stance, and kind of like Kunai and Shuriken practice aiming, and they do that, and they'd leave, and they'd firstly was to activate a chakra, so they'd go to a training ground. A training ground with a chakra suppression barrier. Or in other words, when you're inside, you could release like a large amount of chakra, and no one outside the barrier would be able to sense it. So, yeah. And if you're wondering why that would be like a chakra suppression barrier up on a training ground, well, it's because training ground is a ANBU training ground. So they generally have those to keep the training grounds top secret, or at least secret from any spies or that. So yeah. And plus, obviously they'd be possibly dealing with, so like, jutsu, some of them may come up with that use a lot of chakra, and as such, you probably want to you probably don't use them in a normal training ground, because obviously you'd end up with ANBU surrounding you, wanting to know what is going on and why you let that amount of chakra. So yeah. 5-10 minutes later, after they had explained to her and she'd went to find her chakra within herself, which they'd just told her that it was a warm feeling around the heart and chest. It was a nice warm comforting feeling, and you just grabbed on with that and poured with all your might. And as I just said, 5-10 minutes later, she would pretty much make that connection to her chakra, and with her pretty much network, with that pretty much connection being made, pretty much always generally somewhat forcefully, always generally meant that body did lose a bit of chakra. The more chakra, or the bigger you use as well, the more you somewhat lost initially. And when she'd awakened hers, made that connection, she'd shot a shockwave of chakra. An earthquake pretty much had occurred. So pretty much all of Fire Nation had just a giant earthquake. They'd be somewhat confused, because, or at least for them, the only way an earthquake would occur was from a large scale, massive attack, like a tailed beast ball would the explosion from a tailed beast ball would cause an earthquake type deal. So or say if there was a giant tailed beast nearby, which could also do a small localized earthquake. So yeah. Anyway, after making her chakra, they'd go through, they'd actually tell her to show her how to do tree walking, because from the amount she'd let out, they'd guess that there was almost 0 point trying to do the kind of basic chakra sticking exercise, where you'd get a leaf and stick it to your head with chakra. Her reserves are massive and dense enough that it'd probably just either shoot the leaf off at who knows how fast, or it'd probably just be uncontrollable. Even with that, it wouldn't really do much. So well, or at least benefit. Obviously, being a girl, she had better reserves than, say, a male counter. If she was male with the same reserves, wouldn't even heck, they probably would have to resort to well, who knows what type of chakra control exercise, though she just barely had any sort of known control over her chakra. And obviously, the second she made a connection to her chakra reserves, to her chakra, Kunai had immediately went into, say, analysing to see how big they were, and she'd be dumbfounded at how much chakra she had. Heck, she had so much she was rivaling the 4,000 reserves, and they were dense enough to rival her own chakra density. Kunai's chakra reserves were obviously massive, near infinite. The reason why they were always touted as being near infinite was because of how dense her chakra reserves were as well. Because the density of your chakra, the less you had to use of it. So if someone had like 1 tail's worth of chakra, and someone who had half a tail's worth of chakra, but that person's chakra was twice as dense as the person with 1 tail's worth of chakra, well, they'd run out of chakra at the same time, because one had so more chakra but had to use more of it to do, say, its same strength jutsu as someone who had half the chakra reserves but was twice as dense. So yeah. So even though she only had 4 tails worth of, well, and when I mean 4 tails, I don't mean Kuma, like 4 tails. I'm on about like the 4 tails itself. Yes. I don't even know its name. Yeah, but the 4 tails is like how much Savage Chakra the 4 tails has. Ruby will have these same reserves as it. So yeah, though the density of her chakra would be the same as Kuma's, which the only other being having more than her besides Kaguya would be the 10 tails itself. So yeah, and of course we would have large chakra reserves. After all, she is the reincarnation of Kaguya's, nice, loving side. The side that was somewhat, got suppressed and corrupted when she'd absorbed the God Tree? Yeah, the God Tree, and from then on became the rabbit goddesses, thus making her Kaguya is also the 10 tails, so yeah, you could say Ruby's somewhat 10 tails, or she's the reincarnation of Kaguya. The Kaguya that didn't be say before Kaguya became the 10 tails. Up to you can decide that. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, dude, I forgot where we were now. Yeah, throughout the day they would do tree walking and master that within 2 to 3 hours, and then Cheetah would having a cheetah master would take Ruby to to the only store that would, the only store that would sell her clothes, and we would get, would somewhat be shy, and though we'd managed to get that, she only came for a swimsuit, and we'd get a one piece, being, I was only 4 years old, she's small and young. So yeah, she'd get it and change there. Those who'd put on her top and skirt on, and they would head off back to the ANBU training ground 59, and would somewhat then, obviously the reason why she needed a swimsuit was because they'd be, or she would now be moving on to water walking. It was like, oh, someone who's got barely any chakra reserves, not chakra reserves, chakra control over such mass chakra control, couldn't learn it at a fast period. Well, for one, she's Ruby, and if you remember how fast somewhat Naruto had got it, which was what, like a step or two behind Sasuke, who had smaller reserves than Naruto. So yeah, I'm gonna say Ruby can learn it, obviously within 3 hours, but also more so, well, she'd learn it within 2.5 hours. The other half an hour was mastering it, which meant like she could roll down, roll up, pretty much do acrobatics, well, do everything except for jump, because if she jumped she'd land on the ground quite painfully. She could obviously slide down the tree and slow a descent down to a stop. So yeah, she mastered the tree walking. And well, yeah, and she then also, another reason why is because, well, the older you get, the harder it is to, say, learn something, or, well, yeah, so, no, her being obviously small, young, 4 years old, meant that her brain would grasp chakra control a lot more easier and a lot faster. So yeah, and plus obviously her brain's an Uzumaki, with the obviously Uzumaki genes being on the forefront. So well, yeah, obviously anyway, they would do water walking, and she'd somewhat tell them that she couldn't swim. Obviously, how would she know how to swim? Because they learned how to swim in the academy, which, well, yeah, they would take them, I think, an hour to swim pool. If not, then it'd be like a local river that is big enough to have them all in, well, a local pond that was obviously big enough to have them in, and they would train them in learning how to swim. So yeah, or the parents would, though 99% of the time it was up to the academy, unless it was somewhat, if you was a civilian in a civilian school, then yes, it was up to your parents to obviously teach you how to swim. Though if you're just filling in a ninja enrolling in the ninja academy, then yes, they'd obviously teach you how to swim. An important thing to know. So, well, yeah, and well, the two ANBU members, Rabbit and Cheetah, would somewhat be talking with one another, deciding if, well, they would know she'd need much more chakra control hack. She probably wouldn't even, by the time, she'd come 12, and would obviously 12 was 16 activates, that they would all automatically go into doing the gaining exams, and gaining exam, the first part of the gaining exams. Second part was team based. So yeah, and they would know that she'd probably have enough control to do transformation and replacement, but not enough to do the simple clone jutsu, which was an illusion based. And well, yeah, so just obviously sack at that, because obviously for her to have that amount of control would take at least another possibly 12 years. though, depending on that thing, so they'd somewhat decide on they'd decide on a somewhat hard chakra control exercise, which is that it came in 2 steps. First step was just to get someone to know this is how you do it, and then the second one was the real chakra control exercise. This one would be, the first one would be, you'd have 2 chakra conductive kunai. So pretty much kunai that were made out of the special metal that can conduct chakra. And you'd stick one to your arm being upside down or on the side of a tree or building or whatever, and you'd stick it onto your hand, and you'd grab the other one and stick it onto the point of the kunai. Being chakra conductive, it would somewhat take, obviously once you somewhat understood how to stick 2 kunai together and keep it on the skin with you being attached to a wall or that, and the next part would come on once you understood how to do that, which was normal kunai, which weren't chakra conductive, and as such used 5, 10, maybe even 100 times more chakra to obviously stick one to yourself, and then stick another one would use another 200-300 times that, because it wouldn't be the same amount. You wouldn't just say pump the same amount you would to stick, say double the amount for the first kunai, because there's obviously it's not chakra conductive, so you can't exactly just double your output. You have to almost somewhat triple it almost your output to stick 2 together, and the more you stuck together, the more chakra reserves you needed, the bigger your reserves you'd need, but also the more control you'd need, because the more chakra you output and the more precise control you needed to control that amount of chakra that's leaving you. So yeah, and pretty much should somewhat obviously they'd give her 2 chakra conductive kunai and would tell her what to do. She'd then go up and stick the first one, which would be easy. Then she'd go and attack the second one, which would somewhat be harder, but within 5-10 minutes, which is the average time for any gaining, not gaining any, somewhat any gaining that is the age of around 15-16 to around 18-20 years old would get it. And anyway, so after that she'd come back down and ask what's next. They would go, do that again but with these 2 kunais, and she'd go, what's the difference? The 2 in your hands are chakra conductive kunai, they're made out of a special metal that can conduct chakra. They are very expensive, in other words, and normal kunai, they can conduct chakra, though it's somewhat any metal can conduct it. It's just the chakra conductive metal allows you to obviously it allows more free flow. It's a lot easier to flow your chakra throughout a chakra kunai by a kunai made out of the special metal than a normal kunai. It can be up to 100 times harder. It's around 100 times harder. And of course, if that's 100 times harder, then sticking one to your hand would be 100 times harder. Then sticking another one would be 200 to 300 times harder, as that you can't just double the output, because there is a reduction as it goes through the kunai. through one kunai and pass through the other. So yeah, Ruby would nod, and she'd she'd hand the two chakra conductive kunai back, and would take the two normal kunai and would run up the tree and would she'd grab the first one and she'd be there for around half an hour before she got the first one, and then within another half an hour she'd get the second one and would look down and go, what now? As Rabbit would walk up and would go, well, you just had another one. As she would, as the chain would slowly get bigger and bigger. Very slowly get bigger and bigger, and it would get harder and harder. As once the first two took her an hour to do, the third one took her an hour, fourth one took her around an hour and a half, fifth one 2 hours to somewhat release the right amount of chakra. And that's what she'd generally be doing most of her time. Well, for what she'd be doing for a year, as a year would go past since that day. And the two ANBU member plus Dragon, which is the ANBU leader. So Dragon would do, say, like paperwork, and would handle missions from the Hokage and missions from their daimyo, because the daimyo would obviously want people, say, assassinated within maybe his own council, and he doesn't want he doesn't want those people known, so he'd get the ANBU, and obviously Hiruzen would have just missions for the ANBU to carry out. So yeah, and Dragon would give Ruby a book on sealing, though not just say like any kind of sealing books. You could get those almost anywhere for like level 1 for beginners. This was unique as well, because to everyone else that you could ask that knew of a clan would say that book shouldn't exist, because the book was level 1 of Uzumaki sealing, which, to say, or at least in my idea of an Uzumaki leveling, like the difference between Uzumaki leveling and the rest of the elemental nations, say sealing leveling would be say their level 10 would be like a level 1 for an Uzumaki, because they're known as the sealing masters. So not sealing masters, Fuinjutsu masters, pretty much known, what possibly near the limits to what Fuinjutsu could do, and those probably discovering what would push the limits on Fuinjutsu and would realise it can go even farther than this. And they'd somewhat even and the Uzumakis were alive during the second Hokage's reign, and he'd somewhat asked him if his jutsu, the Flying Raijin, would count as a teleportation jutsu, Fuinjutsu, and whilst he considered it was, they would say no, and that it wasn't actually teleporting a person instantly. And well, why was that? Well, because it acted in two parts. It was somewhat more of a very quick acting, say, sealing. So the person would use someone would say seal themselves, and then within would send, say, Chakra to a specific Kunai. This is my interpretation, so it could be wildly different to yours. And then that Kunai with the Chakra would somewhat come alive, and there'd be a check for if there's anything within the ceiling space that it's all linked to then pull it out. Though if the ceiling space was, say, filled up to the max, then it was to open a giant, say, black hole, a black just object, that the object would start slowly coming out, and then whatever force it applied, whatever force it had or speed, it would then be flung off in that direction. So yeah, because always it was true teleportation. Well, when obviously mean to teleport the giant beast bomb from the Hokage monument, it should have shot straight into the black thing, the black abyss, and shot out the other side. But instead we saw it somewhat like stop almost, and then ridiculously slowly going. So I feel like it was somewhat, say, sealing then, say, jutsu or whatever, say, realm would fill up, and then it would somewhat, say, construct the tail beast from the other side. And yeah, that's my view on it, though as I said, it can be different to yours. So yeah, anyway, I did say a year would go by as well. There was somewhat today. She'd turned 5 around. She was already 5 years old. Her birthday had been around like 2-3 months ago. So she had around 3 to 4 months until around 5. Yeah, around say 5. Around say 5.5 months. Around 4.5 to 5.5 months before she would start the academy, and she was obviously very much looking forward to it. And though today she'd somewhat woken up and had this somewhat curiosity on her mind for a while, as she'd go, "Hey, Kura," you would yawn and go, yeah, kid, what is it? What do you need? I was somewhat wondering what would happen if I were to channel Chakra into my eyes. Kura would go, I don't know, nothing is the most likely outcome, though who knows, I can't say for sure, because you could also have an unknown dojutsu, you could possibly awaken an unknown dojutsu. So yeah, I don't know, there's a chance you could have a dojutsu, there's a chance that absolutely nothing would happen, and that you just wasted a small amount of your reserves. I don't just go, okay, so should I try? I'm just gonna go, yeah, kid, go knock yourself out. obviously could somewhat be sleepy. She just, Naruto had woken her up. Ruby had woken her up. And, she would, she'd close her eyes and channel to them, and she could feel them burning with incredible heat as she'd open them, as Kuma would blink, because like that vision was linked, as she'd go, okay, she'd go, yeah, cool, what is it, am I seeing things, what do you mean, are you seeing things, can you get closer to the mirror? Sure. She'd lean somewhat in closer, as Kuma go, how do you have the Sharingan, what? The Sharingan, Ruby. It is the Dojutsu of the Uchiha clan. I don't know. Maybe my dad was a Uchiha. I'm thinking, don't fork it. Your Uchihas have black eyes. Though I don't know. Possibly, maybe someone down your line. I don't know though. Could you try send more chakra into your eyes? The only reason why Ruby had lent in further was because her eyes were violet. Obviously, like her right eyes, violet, Kusuna's coloured eyes, and her left eye was Minato's coloured eyes, or as I like to call the colour, a deep ice blue colour. That's what it seems to resemble, the colour-wise. So, yeah. And the eyes are done violet with 3 tomo in each eye. And she'd send more chakra to them, listening to Kuma, as then they would change into a flower pattern. And it'd be like an absolute beautiful violet pattern. As Kuma would just be somewhat stunned, though she'd heard from her father about the Sharingan, the next stage, which his son had called the Mangekyo Sharingan. And then the next stage after that, which Kuma was somewhat curious, and should go, can you send more? Ruby would go, why would I send more? I somewhat already feel like they're burning. Please, Kit, please, will you? It's just confirming something. She'd just sigh, but go, fine, for you, I guess. As she would, as her eyes would then go the same as her eyes would then adorn the Rinnegan, as what we would hear would be an audible thump, as Kuma just whacked the head against the floor of the Mindscape, as we would go, Kuma, what did you just do? It's like, oh, right, I forgot this is Mindscape. Whack my head against the floor of your Mindscape. Why? As Kuma just saying, go, Kit, you have probably to my knowledge, the most dangerous Dojutsu currently. And what's that? It's called the Rinnegan. I wouldn't be surprised if you had another something else. So send more in. Sure, why not? We're already this far, Kit. Go right ahead. And see what it does. Would go from violet to red. A blood red with circles, as Kamu just would go wide eyes, as Kamu would be speechless, as we would go, Kuma, you okay? As it go, yeah, father only spoke of this eye, only seen it in his mum once, but how do you have it? How do you have the eye? What eye? What eyes? What are you on about? And Lao shake a breath and go, what is currently in your eyes, and why I'm freaked out so much is that my father, or who I call father, the Sage of Six Paths, or damn it, not Hizen, Hagoromo Otsutsuki. He had described this eye in his mother, Kaguya Otsutsuki, and he'd said that adorned on her head was an eye of red with 9 tomo, which he had occluded, and he had nicknamed the Rini Sharingan because it had the properties of the Sharingan, the Mangekyo, which Mangekyo is a more powerful version of the base Sharingan, and the Rinnegan, well, it's a combination then of the Rinnegan and the Sharingan. No, it's the combination of the Rinnegan, yes, the Rinnegan and the Mangekyo Sharingan. No, Ruby would just say, okay, so this is bad, well, not, well, yes, if anyone ever finds out you have this, but, well, I guess try and send more Chakra into your eye, see what happens, and she would, as then her vision would go black and blue. She'd go, what's going on, Kuma? What's going on? What are these lines of odd blue? And just Kuma would go, calm down, Kit. Just pull back on the amount of chakra you're using. And she'd pretty much damage with that, or she'd somewhat cut all the way back to the amount she'd put into to activate the Sharingan or the Dojutsu in her eyes, whatever it was. She'd breathe out, she'd let out a sigh of relief, as she'd go, I can finally see again. What was that? I was going to go, Kit, could you possibly look at the mirror, huh? I am. Yeah. I was going to go, I was going to blink and go, oh yes, right, oh. I was going to then look at the others and go, come on. As she'd also, ours would now be that of the Byakugan, though it'd be the true Byakugan, and James curious, what do you mean true Byakugan? There is no true Byakugan. Well, Kaguya, obviously was to our knowledge, the first person with the Byakugan, and so I'd call that, say, the true Byakugan, or in other words, a Byakugan that hasn't been, say, watered down, a Byakugan that could see true 360 degrees. That was probably, yes, a blind spot in both the left and right eye, but obviously the left and right eye the blind spots would overlap, or at least the vision of the right eye would overlap with the blind spot of the left, and vice versa, meaning the blind spot would be covered. Unlike the Byakugan, it's has a blind spot. Yeah, I think it's behind right here somewhere, like a 45-degree angle up from the right here, something like that. Yeah, on the right side, around 45 degrees up from the shoulder to ear, somewhere around there. I think, I don't know, it could be somewhere else, but yeah. And current should just be thinking like, was there any point sending Chakra to her eyes? Like, what else was there? Though then should think it's like, well, if the Sharingan had a next ability, like a next evolution, being the Mangekyo, could the Byakugan have another level on that? Just go, hey kid, yeah, send more Chakra to my eyes, come on. And go, yeah. And that's what she'd do, and then she'd get the, then the Tensakugan would appear. If you haven't seen the Tensakugan, you can go and look it up. Its debut in Naruto the Last. So yeah. Anyway, and Kumo just let out just sigh and go, well, hey kid, yeah, just cancel the Chakra to your eyes. I'm curious now what would happen. Like, okay, she would, and her eyes would go back to their usual two-toned colour. Well, right being violet and the left being blue. So yeah, going go well. At least, you have the dojutsus, but you don't have any of the kind of aftermath. It's like, what do you mean aftermath? Well, for a person who say got the Sharingan, they'd have black eyes. For a person who has the Rinnegan, their eyes would always be purple with the black rings. For a period with the Byakugan, their eyes would be pale white, or a pale violet lavender white colour. And yeah, I don't know for the rest you've shown, but yeah, which simply means how on earth you ever have these dojutsu, I'm assuming, it'd possibly be in like your clan's archive. Surely Ruby would just go, I guess, and that would require Gigi's permission to go to Uzugakure, right? Yes, go Uzugakure. That is where your clan is from. Go, and I doubt Gigi is exactly in the. Well, I don't think he would, let me happily walk out of the village and walk all the way to Uzugakure. And go, I don't think so too either. I don't think so too, but the more I learn about you, the more we need to go to Uzugakure to possibly learn. It's like, the more I learn of the Uzumaki clan, the more answers, the more questions arise. And yes, I've lived since the dawn of the ninja way, but obviously, I may have lived for 1,000 years, but I'm not gonna know everything. I would never assume you to know everything. Maybe just somewhat nod. And she goes, so, anything else want to try before I go off, possibly while training in like in chakra control? Yes. Could you try and combine the Sharingan and Byakugan? How would I do that? Somewhat send enough chakra to activate the Sharingan, which I'd presume would be the same to activate the Sharingan, Rinnegan, Rinne Sharingan, and Byakugan. And the reason why I left out the Tenseikyugan and Mangekyo is because they'd probably need double the amount you send to the Sharingan. So if you could just I don't know. I guess trying to imagine a say pale violet lavender Sharingan. I don't know, Kit. And maybe would should somewhat try and imagine a dojutsu just like that. Her eyes would once again burn. With each dojutsu had shown in her eyes had burned and was burning more and more and more and more and more she did it. And she'd now pretty much be seen in, she wouldn't be seen in 360 as you had to send chakra in the eyes to do that. A small amount of chakra into the eyes to do that somewhat. At least a bit more than what she was sending anyway. And should go, hey Kit, yeah, could you do the same but for the Rinne Sharingan? Why that? Well, because then you'd get the boost of all three. You'd get the Mangekyo, which is a better version of the Sharingan. You'd get all the Rinnegan abilities, and you'd get the abilities of whatever the Rinne Sharingan grants you, which are the abilities of the Rinnegan, the Mangekyo, which the Mangekyo is like the obviously base abilities of the Sharingan, and some other jutsus, which you'd know the names when, I guess, you've trained enough within them to know. I don't really know, but yeah. And the Byakugan gives you like 360 degrees field of vision. You can also see Tengetsu or chakra points, in other words, and you can see the black and blue you saw was chakra. You saw chakra in its you saw what any other Hyuga would see when they activate the Byakugan. Though when they activate it, they can choose either 300, either that 300, I guess, somewhat 360 degree field of vision. Obviously the chakra, or enhanced like vision. They can zoom in on targets and see through walls and that, and clothing. And could you repeat the last part? They could see through clothing. And the next thing we would hear was just Ruby's knuckles clicking, and she'd go, "Well then," in a very sweet and kind voice, "if I ever see a Hyuga with their Sharingan activated in my direction, oh, they'll know pain, that's for sure." Courage gulp. I think maybe not the best idea to say, but then again, I guess messing with a Jinchuriki would probably also be the worst thing to do. Because who do you want to go up against? A Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, like the Jinchuriki of 9 tails, in any form you kind of think of, well, a mad, like Jinchuriki of the 9 tails fox, or a Hyuga with obviously the Akanon. Which one would you want to fight? Well, not fight, which one would you rather not fight? I'd rather not fight the mad 9,000 Jinchuriki because it, well, could possibly wipe you out of existence, and you wouldn't be able to run fast enough to get away from the Beast Ball that could explode. So yeah, that's my reason. Though I'm curious on what your reasons are if you've made it this far. Anyway, so yeah, maybe we should combine all three. Kind of just think we just go, hey kid, yeah, what can't you do? And just go, what do you mean? That's something I got to say. I literally mean, what can't you do? You've got the what I can presume to be the most powerful dojutsu to ever exist. So what can't you do? But I don't know, become a ninja? We just whack our head again. Naruto somewhat winks. Yeah, that was true. She couldn't exactly become a ninja because, well, she had to go through the academy. So, yeah, she can't exactly just make herself, like instantly to be a genin. Though she may have the eyes, she will have to learn how to use them. So, well, yeah. Yeah, so don't exactly know, like, say, a possible way of explaining it more. Because it's like, it's like, for those who don't play, say, a piano, it's like giving you a piano and expecting to play Mozart, one of Mozart's songs, or another, like either ridiculously hard song or a song you say love and possibly listen to. It'd be like expecting you to play that on the piano for the first time, or on the violin, a guitar, or drums, or whatever instrument you could think of, that you don't know how to play, and expecting you to be able to play it the first time. It's like, now you have to learn to use the instrument and learn how to play it. So in Rui's case, she'd have to learn how to use the dojutsu, so having it, is just having it. Nice pretty symbol on her eyes, but that's about it. Yeah, her eyes would just morph into into different looks. That's pretty much all. Yeah. So yeah, she'd have to train, and she will, and that's what I'm going to end it here, guys. So if you have enjoyed this part, tell me in the comments. If you want part 3, again, tell me in the comments down below. Have a good day or night, depending on what it is for you, where it is and where and whenever you're watching this, and well, stay safe and good. Bye. Good. Bye.